All right. Hello, everybody. This is part two of The Name of the Creator. If I remember correctly, the title of this one has to do with nothing to gather, nothing to hunt. Now, it is no longer the middle of the night for me. It is now morning. I can talk as loud or as soft as I want to. Okay, so we left off. Fair use, fair use, fair use. FU, FU, FU. We left off at 1 minute and 3 seconds. Let's just start it over so anybody just joining the video is refreshed.
History is fascinating. We want to know more about it because we're curious of where we came from, where we have been, and the journey that has taken us to where we are today. Most of what we know about history, and especially ancient history, is through what was left behind by our ancestors. Structures, tools, poetry, books, documents, but these rarely tell the whole story. Even though we have written history books and created scientific documents, discoveries are made all the time that challenges what we think we know about our own past. So here are some recent discoveries made from around the world that could rewrite certain aspects of human history. The first item on this list brings us to the Zagros Mountains of present-day Iran. Here, researchers claim to have found the actual people who introduced agriculture to South Asia. Before this discovery was made, it was believed that hunter-gatherers developed agriculture in the Middle East some 10,000 years ago. They then spread their techniques to other regions like Europe.
Okay, so when we go over here and we see all these people call themselves hunter-gatherer because they're reading their DNA.
And then I had 2% that were trace regions. And your trace regions, it says, these are regions where you seem to have just a trace amount of genetic ethnicity. There's only a small amount of evidence supporting the.
Now listen, understand the trace regions, and this Mike, whatever his name is, just explained in his video that what? That you're found to begin in Iran mountains and then spread.
Years ago. They then spread their techniques to other regions like Europe, Asia, and Africa.
This is why in DNA you find trace amounts. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the trace amounts of hunter-gatherer DNA pushes everything else out of the water. This hunter-gatherer DNA shows that you're here from the dawn of time. It shows you're here from the beginning. Not enslaved, farming. It says Noah began husbandry. That's farming. That's an ancient term for farming. That means Noah's sons, or Noah's favorite sons, would continue farming. Now, listen, we've been trained like parrots. What? This guy said that? What? Repeat that, motherfucker. So, there's a ton of people sitting there saying, well, corn was first found in America. It's called maize. Listen, when the fucking guy starts off with new discovery, and that should fuck with your head because it's new. That means it's older than every. So when they discover that corn is first grown in these mountains, and then they can't find it in the area anymore, let me tell you what happens. Something happens and your ass takes the corn out of the ground and you walk off with it. The whole world is chasing your ass around for the corn. You're too fucking stupid to understand that. I showed you this video 3 goddamn times. Not one of you motherfuckers understand this. You took the goddamn corn. Where'd you go with it? America. Okay, so something happened in history. Something great happened in history, and you stole the corn and walked the fuck off in a diaspora. You went in different directions. That's why you find trace amounts of the same fucking people everywhere.
So hunter-gatherer.
And then I had 2%.
Now look how she says it. Hunter-gatherer, right? Hunter-gatherer. I have no idea what this means. I think it's insulting. And actually, it shows that you're the children of Noah. Because blacks can't think on their own. They got to be told what to think. Right? They done dumbed you down. Smartest people on the earth have been dumbed down. People were smart enough to walk off with corn in different directions and start replanting it. Now you've been dumbed down. Nothing to hunt. Nothing to gather. She don't even respect the idea that what hunter-gatherer means. She didn't even think about it. She said, I'm Bantu, nigga! Yeah! And what the fuck does that mean? The most powerful thing you're going to find in your DNA is fucking hunter-gatherer. That's why it's just trace amounts. And I'm going to show you why. Because if you say, dear Google, please tell me what hunter-gatherers look like. Please tell me, because I want to know. So you type in hunter-gatherer, right? And then you hit images. And what do they want you to think? They program their children to think, fucking, this is a hunter-gatherer. They program your children to think these fucking creatures are hunter-gatherers. They programmed your children, see, aren't these Indians? But the real hunter-gatherers, what you fuckers don't even understand, is you.
Hunter-gatherer.
Gatherer. No respect for my DNA.
Percent that were trace regions. And your trace regions, it says, these are regions where you seem to have just a trace amount of genetic ethnicity. There's only a small amount of evidence supporting the regions as part of your genetic ethnicity, because both the estimated amount and the range of the estimate are small. It is possible that these regions appear by chance and are not actually a part of your genetic ethnicity.
Now, first they tell you the truth, and then they start to bullshit you. Now, what does that truthfully mean? Okay. Something big happened in history, whether it be war, plague, flood, whatever. You scooped the seeds. You put the seeds in a pouch, and you all got into groups, migrated, and you dispersed in different areas. Now, the DNA shows that you've been to this place, that place, all over the world. But when you get your DNA back, they tell you, well, trace amounts, it really has to do with, we found a bone there. Whether it's part of a whole skeleton or whether it's part of thousands of skeletons and they don't want to tell you, it's evidence that your bloodline was there. Now, add the evidence your bloodline was there from the bones and add that to the evidence of the seeds being part of diasporas. Now you have a particular people group called hunter-gatherers going to different corners of the world, starting agriculture. Now, why are those different cultures in the world not there anymore? Why are they all here in America? Colonization. These people went around stealing every goddamn thing you've ever created. If you built only a tent, they have no reason to bother you. If you built in stone, they took everything you had. If you built in minerals, you know where this is going. That's what it's all about, people. If they ain't got shit, rape them and kill them and keep moving. If they have something, go and dwell in it until it demise. Now, aren't they here and dwelling in America until its demise? No. Nothing to hunt, nothing to gather.
After fusing with those populations, the new discovery.
See, if you start at the dawn of time and you take food to different areas, you ain't fused with no goddamn populations. You are then the natives of the area. Whatever people groups then come on the area and fucking take your food from you, are the people that are trying to amalgamate with you. Can we join you? You have food.
Culture to South Asia. Before this discovery was made, it was believed that hunter-gatherers developed agriculture in the Middle East some 10,000 years ago. They then spread their techniques to other regions like Europe, Asia, and Africa after fusing with those populations. The new discovery in Iran seeks to prove that agriculture may have been discovered by diverse groups of people around the world, not just one region in the Middle East.
That's wrong. The evidence already proves that's wrong. Evidence already proves it started in one region in the Middle East. And this is why I showed you that the ark rested on Ararat. When the ark rests, Noah begins husbandry, which is farming. Most likely, with the command to spread to the earth, the seeds are taken with the people that are spreading.
Iran seeks to prove that agriculture may have been discovered by diverse groups of people around the world, not just one region in the Middle East.
But its evidence only shows one region in the Middle East. Now, he's going to expound on one region in the Middle East. He's not going to expound on the theory that diverse groups and blah, blah, blah. Listen again.
After fusing with those populations. The new discovery in Iran seeks to prove that agriculture may have been discovered by diverse groups of people around the world, not just one region in the Middle East. Recently, researchers had discovered the human remains of people who supposedly started farming at the same time as the Middle Eastern hunter-gatherers who, quote-unquote, developed agriculture.
Now listen. Listen very close. He just said, they found evidence that agriculture started in one region, but they're trying to prove it started everywhere at once. Don't you understand what that means? They're trying to twist the evidence. We're lucky we found it right now. Now listen, we have the bones of the people that was digging. That's what he's going to say. Layman terms, we got the bones of the diggers, of the farmers, of the first farmers. What do the bones look like?
Around the world, not just one region in the Middle East. Recently, researchers had discovered the human remains of people who supposedly started farming at the same time as the Middle Eastern hunter-gatherers who, quote-unquote, developed agriculture. The DNA of some of the bone fragments were examined and found to belong to a dark-skinned man.
A dark-skinned man. Well, let's go over here. Now, does everything he says so far match the DNA? Yes.
And those 2% belong to Africa North and Africa South Central hunter-gatherers. That's really Africa North and Africa South Central hunter-gatherers. That's really Africa North and Africa South Central hunter-gatherers. That's really Central hunter-gatherers. Africa South Central hunter-gatherers. That's really all. 1%.
Developed agriculture. The DNA of some of the bone fragments were examined and found to belong to a dark-skinned man who had cereal in his diet. Found to belong to a dark-skinned man who had cereal in his diet. Found to belong to a dark-skinned man who had cereal in his diet.
So you're never gonna hear the white people were hunter-gatherers. You are never going to hear that. You are going to see images of that. They want you to believe that. You are never going to see any ancient shit of white hunter-gatherers. It's a lie. Everybody has dark skin until two things happen. Cain kills Abel, and the act of the book of Leviticus 13. There's a third thing that happens. Those aren't people. That is Genesis 6. They are not people. They are pretending to be people.
I'm not talking about Captain Crunch or developed agriculture. The DNA of some of the bone fragments were examined and found to belong to a dark-skinned man who had cereal in his diet. And I'm not talking about Captain Crunch or Golden Grams. This means that he knew the ways of agriculture and crop cultivation. These people were very different from the people who introduced agriculture to Europe, which makes scientists believe that the two farming populations never mixed, but they did.
No amalgamation.
But they did know of each other and maybe even have learned from each other. Or mixed, but they did know of each other and maybe even have learned from each other. But they did know of each other and maybe even have learned from each other. Number 2 on our list is a discovery.
Now, does everybody understand that? No? I'll tell you real quick. In Iran, they found bones and they found evidence of agriculture being started. Now, in Europe, the DNA matches. They don't think the people communicated too much, except for way back in the beginning when they learned agriculture. And they probably learned agriculture from the same place, and then they spread in different directions. Now, they did the bone test from the people of Europe, and they found dark skin man. It's that simple. That's your physical evidence blacks populated Europe prior to Canaanites coming out.
Agriculture to Europe, which makes scientists believe that the two farming populations never mixed, but they did know of each other and maybe even have learned from each other. Started farming at the same time as the Middle Eastern hunter-gatherers who, quote-unquote, developed agriculture. The DNA of some of the bone fragments were examined and found to belong to a dark-skinned man who had cereal in his diet. And I'm not talking about Captain Crunch or Golden Grams. This means that he knew the ways of agriculture and crop cultivation. These people were very different from the people who introduced agriculture to Europe, which makes scientists believe that the two farming populations never mixed, but they did know of each other and maybe even have learned from each other. Number 2.
Now, that's that. Now you can see how all this is linked to exactly what we're studying. This just happens to come out at the right time, right? When did this come out? August 9th. At the right time. Right? Right. Okay. Now we have the second discovery that could rewrite history.
On our list is a discovery that has been made in eastern Georgia at a place called Gragliani Hill. In September of 2015, on 2 altars in a 7th century BC temple.
Now this is in Georgia. Now, let me shake your head to hopefully you'll remember when we showed the Cloches people. The black-skinned Egyptians that went where? Georgia. Now what? A group lives on top of them, occupying their land, right? Right.
Archaeologists found an unidentified script. They had no information about.
Think about something. Mizrahim is Cham blood. There ain't no black Chamites. Every person you think is, even every people group you think is a Chamite, done went in there and conquered or got thrown into Africa. I want you to think about something. The so-called Egyptians ain't in Egypt no more. They tell you the so-called Egyptians are the Cloches people, and the Cloches people live in Georgia. But they're supposed to be the Egyptians, right? Why aren't they in Egypt? Why are the people that are in Egypt, why do they look Arab? Why are they related to Arabs? Why are the Arabs they're related to under the bloodline of Cham? Now, if the Georgians and the Egyptians are both Canaanites or both from Cham seed, how were we calling black people Cham or Ham? We've been tricked on a massive level. Now you got the black Egyptians living up in Georgia, and then at some point in history, the fucking Arabs come and live on top of them. Now, let's go backwards in history and try to understand this. You got these people that are called the Egyptians, Mizrahim. They look like Arabs. And then these invaders come, called the Hyksos, right? And they have afros. And they come and they take over Egypt for a while until the Girgashite Canaanite, Mamner, right? Whatever his name is. He comes and sets up a kingship, i.e. the Scorpion King. Those people that overthrew Egypt, the Hyksos people, are most likely the Clochis people that kicked out of Egypt and then followed and then ruled over, because they came in to try to rule over them, and then it's then returned to them. Like, you know. So basically, this is how I'm seeing it, because this is what fucking history points to. A bloodline's a bloodline. You know, niggas come out their bloodline. They're Mongols. Caucasus people came out of their bloodline. Aren't the Mongols barbarians? Genghis Khan and his golden horde. Aren't the Caucasus barbarians? The Germanic barbarians. The Gauls. Come on. These people are fucking related and you have nothing to do with them. Now, here's a second discovery found in Georgia, where the Clochis people probably we would have been close to.
The age or content of the script, but recently a laboratory called Beta Analytic has concluded that the writing dates back to 3,000 years ago, making it the third oldest piece of writing ever. The script it's the third oldest piece of writing ever, making it the third oldest piece of writing ever.
Okay, so look. Those of you that believe 50,000 fucking years ago, it ain't so. They tell you dinosaur walk with man. They got caveman pictures of men riding dinosaurs like we ride cars today. They fucked with our heads so that they can have superiority, domination. Everything that our people groups knew has been turned upside down so that we don't know shit. And what it really means, we don't know truth. Like, the grass is green, the sky is blue. Those are the things that we can knock on wood and say, oh, we know firmly. But other than that, things start to get fucking sketchy. The sky is blue, the grass is green, right? The world's a globe. See, starting to get sketchy already. It's a planet, planet Earth. Planets are round. Bible says shit's flat. Flat, yet round. Copper color place. All the dirt's brown. So, let's listen some more real quick.
Script is also bilingual, meaning it was comprised of two unique writing systems.
Two unique writing systems. Hey, ain't that what they say about Hebrew and Egyptian? Two unique writing systems. So is that comprised of like Hebrew and Assyrian? Or something? You know? Yeah, I'm just trying to make you think at this point. Trying to get that brain activated like it was last year.
But of which are unknown to us. This is a huge discovery.
You can see right there's fucking Sumerian language. They look like fucking golf tees, right? You just type in Sumerian language. Writing. Hit images. Oh, look at that. So you see how these right here, this is what you see a lot of, this stuff right here. You see a lot of this stuff in Sumerian writing. So ignore everything over here. Just don't worry about any of this stuff. Let's just look at this last row and let's go back. When we go back, looking at the last row, you see the golf club T, golf club T. There's the little T you put the ball on. And you see all these strokes in there.
Because written language correlates with civilizations. And this makes researchers wonder if there could be a new civilization we have yet to discover. Before the discovery of this new script, Georgia's oldest inscriptions were the Balnisi inscriptions, which were ranked 5th oldest in the world. Now the discovery of this new writing system has pushed the Balnisi inscriptions down the list and placed itself as the 3rd oldest writing system in the world, essentially changing what we know about the history of writing systems. Number 3 on our list is a discovery.
Okay, so that's in Georgia, still in the Middle East, still in the region of the great diaspora.
Made in Florida that could change about the history of writing systems.
Okay, so now here's number 3 discovery that can change history, rewrite history. Now we're in Florida, right?
Number 3 on our list is a discovery made in Florida that could change the theory for how the Americas were colonized. In 2012, a team of archaeologists led by Mike Waters, an archaeologist from Texas A&M, marched into a swampy site in Florida called Page Latson. From then on, they dug and worked on the area for years until they found a double-sided stone knife, as well as 5 sharpened rocks. Just a few months ago, a published report by the team said the artifacts are over 14,000 years old.
Okay, we already know carbon dating can't be it can't go past 5,000 years. Truthfully, it can't go past 3,000 years. 3,000 BCE. Now, again, when you carbon date stuff underwater, that has been added pressure. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into that. Believe it if you want to. Believe 14,000 years.
This means that there were people who lived in Florida 1,000 years earlier than what is currently known. This supports a 1980.
Anybody notice, that's a long ass fucking bone, right? So they say it's from a mastodon, a juvenile mastodon sinkhole, at a sinkhole, excuse me.
No, this supports a 1980s excavation in the area that found a mastodon tusk estimated to be more than 14,400 years old. Most anthropologists doubted the date of the tusk because they believed that hunters called the Clovis people were the first to migrate to the Americas around 13,000 years ago.
Now, the Clochis people are the Egyptians, and the Clovis people migrated to America, right? See, people, I told you the Bible's correct. It's the man that is lying. Now, did you just see they showed you Clovis people and a route that went by the Bering Sea? Now, I'm just going to type in Clovis people. And this is what they want to show you. The image of hunter-gatherers, right? Now, don't you get it? They're hiding your identity. You're the Indian that came over on the Bering Strait with fucking corn. You brought corn from the old world and they hid it from you. Now, I done showed you this in 5 videos and you're fucking not getting it. Why do I have to sit here for 2 hours and fucking tell you what I just showed you in videos over and over again? Somebody has a veil over their face. And somebody doesn't have a veil over their face. And the one without the veil is trying to show you, but you keep giving so much pushback. Because everything you've been fucking taught is a lie. And you don't accept it. You don't accept that the people you cared about in life lied to you. You don't accept that this is the face that's telling you the truth. This is the face that's connecting it off, and you can't accept it. It hurts you somehow. I don't know why. I don't know why. I hate white men for what their actions show. But I still have to learn from white men. Yet, I work alongside white men. I am friends with white men. And my hate for actions done in history by white men, even actions done today by white males, does not affect how I feel about these people that I deal with personally, because they have to prove to me that they're that type of person. But that doesn't mean I'm going to put myself in a situation that the last thing I'm going to find out is I am that guy. And now, because then you're drinking with your buddy like they do in Texas, and then you've known for years, and all of a sudden you end up strung up to the back of a truck and drug around town, which makes utterly no sense. So it's unpredictable. So you can't sit there and say, this is my best friend Jim, and we're going to be buddies forever, because if that is the corrupt seed, you have no idea when he's going to turn on you. Now, I don't care what people think about that. That's my analogy. You had that white man last month. You had the white man that was best friends with the other white man who opened his door to him, and in the middle of the night, he ran off with his little daughter, raped her, and killed her. You can say this is fucking racist all you want, but the news reports say differently. I don't care if you attack, whatever. Reality proves something else. No. Wait, this is what they want to show you of the Clovis people, right? That's what they want to show you. But it wasn't like that. In fact, Caucasus people have Neanderthal DNA. It's proven that they came out of Germany, that mangled seed. Genesis 6. If you want to investigate this further, you type in right here, here we have Lloyd Pye, not Floyd. Lloyd Pye, everything you know is wrong. In this video, you're going to find out about Sasquatches in Russia that were captured and mated with. In this video, you're going to find out after they mated with the Sasquatch, they produced human-looking, man-looking things, which we call humans. They lived in a time when they needed every hand. So we're going to click on this and see if we can find a little bit of it.
Support that kind of weight so you have no arch. Because they don't want that guy to be grilled, and they don't want experts to go and measure one limb here and know how tall it really was. Well, what Patterson did was he went right out fast as he could and begged every expert in the area that he could call, every anthropologist and zoo person, come out, bona fide sighting, please bring dogs. And you don't want to bring dogs because these things have a very powerful body odor that even tracking dogs will recoil from. Leaving fossils on the planet at only 120,000 years ago, all right? Unlike Alan, the speaker you saw earlier, and perhaps unlike some of the others you might hear later.
Now, in this video, he talks about the situation in Russia. It might be it, I'm not sure.
Medicine, principally aphrodisiacs. That's the Oriental tradition. In the Russian area, though, when they would be captured, male or female, they would be used as slaves.
There we go.
Physical slaves, held, spirits broken in these primitive villages where they would be.
We're still talking about Sasquatches. They capture Sasquatches and use them as slaves. Now, we all know white people do what to slaves? Do what? They fuck their slaves.
And they would be used to carry wood, fetch water, do the haying, all the heavy work nobody really wants to do. Make the slave do it. And so that became their fate. And for females, another aspect of it was they had to become the sex slaves of the men of the area. And that was one of the other
Again, we're talking about Sasquatches, people. We're not talking about humans.
great advantages to having a female. And so this is the fate that befell Xana in about 1850. She was captured as an adult in 1850. We do not know how old she was. She was an adult. She was taken to the village of Takina, where they kept her in a hole for about 3 years until her spirit was broken enough to let her wander around. She was dependent on them for food, and then they trained her to fetch water, do the things that she had to do. And she became like the village pet for 40 years. She died in 1890. Now, how do we know this? Because in the Orient and Russia, they don't have the same tradition that we have. They're very old countries. They've been living with this for a very long time, for centuries. They know they're real. They send researchers out taking information about it. They send teams out trying to find them, or they used to when Russia had money. They don't now. But this was done in the mid-1970s. Excuse me, I'm sorry, mid-1960s. This research was done in the mid-60s. So in the mid-1960s, this was an area of Kazakhstan where she lived, where people live very long lives. You know those places in the world where people live up around 120 years old? So they had over 100 people above the age of 80 that had known her quite well in their youth. There were 10 still alive who had attended her funeral. So they were able to get tremendous corroborative evidence, corroborative testimony about her lifestyle, and everything about her from all these different people, so we have an amazing view of what she was like and what her life was like. Again, a lot of which I go over in the book. But the main thing is that she never learned to speak until she learned the language. They could talk to her and she'd know what they meant. And while there, she gave birth 8 times to hybrids with men of the village. Of what she was like and what her life was like. Again, a lot of which I go over in the book. But the main thing is that she never learned to speak, but she learned the language. They could talk to her and she'd know what they meant. And while there, she gave birth 8 times to hybrids with men of the village. To speak, but she learned the language. They could talk to her and she'd know what they meant. And while there, she gave birth 8 times to hybrids with men of the village.
They tricked this hairy bitch out, right? That's what the fuck they did.
8 times. Killed the first 4 accidentally because her kind apparently washes the newborn off immediately. She would take it to the freezing glacial river that ran through the village, and because they had so much human in them, it would kill them. So the last 4, the village women took them from her at birth and raised them on their own because they looked so human. And
right there. Hey, listen, he's got written account. He already read this shit. He already did the research for it. They write about it. They're not ashamed of it. Part of their fucking nation is fucking amalgamated Sasquatch people. Are you fucking understanding what's going on? The Bible never lied. These people have a practice of capture and fuck. Sasquatch. Now here, we're like, does Sasquatch exist? I don't know. Let's go out and capture and fuck one. Right? Right?
every pair of hands was very valuable in one of those primitive villages like that, and so they raised them up, and they became Russian citizens. Married, had children, her great-grandchildren are alive in Russia to this day.
Do I need to rewind that? Do I need to have him fucking say that over and over again? Are you fucking awake in the land of Nod? The only place in the motherfucking world that they say, wake up! Wake up! Why? Because the Chinook Indians. The Chinook, the United States fat chopper. We name all our war birds after genocide.
I know, it's an amazing story. Now, what do people say about her children? Well, everybody said that they were indeed taller than most, bigger than most, a little more robust than most, but not giants, not superhumans, just strong, you know, big and strong people. Darker skinned than most, but not truly Negroid. Hair like, you know, everybody, but not covered in hair like she was. Average intelligence, not wizards, not stupid.
Did you hear that?
Ugly enough.
Not stupid. You're thinking it's just some dumb fuck Sasquatch walking around amongst us. Not stupid. Not smart. Anybody can be taught fucking anything now. Sit down enough time, a fucking babbling idiot can be taught physics. Hey, sit down enough times, some piece of shit can figure out the Bible. So don't be plagued by the words that he's using. Remember, if the Sasquatch sleeps with a smart man, then again his senses is going into the hybrid created. If wisdom and training is in the next generation created from that, then it's evolving. That's the only goddamn thing evolving here. All these other humans from, I can't even do that. You know, Ed brought up, he thinks that there's 3 classes of humans: the A, the B, and the O. And then as they mix, you get A minus, B minus, O minus, AB positive, AB negative. Okay, so you see how it goes? What do you think is the O? Right? Could it be the Neanderthal? Let's see. Is Neanderthal A? Well, A comes first. I don't know. Is the Neanderthal B? Right? First, second, and then O. Where does O fall in by 1 and 2? Just way back there. M is 13. M, N, O, B. So O is 15. That's a double-digit number, right? If man is 1 and another form of man, whether it's human or not, is 2, then O is 15. So,
but not giants, not superhumans, just strong, you know, big and strong people. Darker skinned than most, but not truly Negroid. Hair like, you know, everybody, but not covered in hair like.
Dark, but not Negroid. That describes an Indian. So, them banging Sasquatches produces Indians of India, or Indians that the Mongol type that we call in America, based on the human genetic material that's thrown in. So
she was average intelligence, not wizards, not stupid. Ugly enough to make a freight train take a dirt road. Unfortunately for them. But they could speak. That's the key. They could all speak.
Now, we're just going to stop there. You see it's 107 in the video. Everything you know is wrong. So, look, if you want to indulge yourself on this further, you know it's there. You know it exists. And now You know, historically, this has been written about. Genesis 6 has been written about in modern time. That act happened what? Earlier in the century. Popping out pups. Popping out mutant pups. And what's the most important thing he said? They can speak. Right?
But now there is more evidence that supports the pre-Clovis theory because of these excavated tools. After re-examining the mastodon tusk and comparing it with the recently found...
Now remember, these hunter-gatherers are the people that crossed the Bering Strait down through British Canada and into, where does it stop? Right there. Why do, see the arrow going up and the arrow going down? See the Clovis people and the Folsom? That's fucking Utah, ain't it? Why does everything point to Utah? Why is everything dealing with the Bible point to Utah? I don't know. Come on, people. It ain't gonna get any easier than this. I mean, it's right in fucking front of you. It's the, I didn't even see that shit before. The arrows are pointing to Utah. All right, this might be Utah, the mountain system, right here. My bad. So, but still, you're dealing with the four corners. I mean, where does that shit point? You already know it's Atzlan. Your fucking home. You go. Hiram Art taught us what? Hiram Art taught us go to the fucking Department of Interior webpage, type in nigga Indians or African Americans, and then Anasazi Indians pops up over and over and over. And who are they? The forefathers of what? The Cherokee? The Cherokee? All these black Indians that y'all made Mongol Indians take the name. And we call that proxy. Some shit like that. Come on. All right, we're done with this video. There's other discoveries in here that actually pertain to us, but fuck it. Why do I have to sit here and explain it? You're fucking sitting around drunk or high? Because you're thinking, I can't wait till this is over so I can watch some goddamn porn and jerk my dick? I'm fucking tired of this, people. I need you. And you know it. I'm tired of wrestling with you motherfuckers. Submit and come out of her. We have a meeting place. Let's meet. Let's meet. In 6 months, in a year, let's meet and get the fuck out of here. I'm not sitting here another year preaching to you motherfuckers. We're going or you're left behind. So, etymology works today, and interesting enough, I've never seen this before, extended from Yabu. But I'm not even going to get into that shit, because the real importance is it says Ya is explanation of dismissal. Excuse me, exclamation of dismissal or defiance. I dismiss you. Oh, great, Yah. Yah's the creator. I dismiss you. As what? As your power. As what you call on. As what you plug into. You told the only God, I'm going to call you Yah, which is defiance. I defy you. Okay, so you guys know Arthur Clarke went up into the homeland, and for some reason he picked Elephant Park. And this is just I have no words for this.
I think I'm in a 4x6 or something like that. I don't know. It's a tent.
It's funny. He goes, I'm in my dome, and I thought it was funny when he goes in my dome. Domain, you know, how the root dome is the root of domain. So, you know, he's teaching as he goes. You know, I learned that, you know, from him. You know, it's fun.
There's rock. I'm enjoying it.
Oh my God, you You're outdoors. You could have spit that shit out. Why'd you swallow that?
But what I'm really trying to figure out right now, I'm in.
Okay, so he's about to tell you about this. I'm gonna let him tell you about this, and we're gonna come back to 326.
What's called Elephant Canyon. And my old lady pointed out that what they say is, oh, y'all gonna be able to see it with my camera. You know what? I'm just hold very still and hope that I can blow that up when I get home. But you look at a bunch of these different little sections on these different trees, cliffs, mountains, canyons. I don't know.
Cliffs.
Like, it's just huge out here. Like, it's just beyond me because I'm from flatlands, lowlands, you know what I'm saying? So, like when you look at what's supposed to be the coloring from when it rains and the water coming down on the side of the cliffs or the mountains or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, so the covering, he's talking about the overhang. If you draw a straight line, right, or you use a bob, right? A bob is a pendulum, right? Straight line, you can see how a cliff is created in this section here, all right? And because of the overhang, if the rain comes from anywhere over here in the sky at this angle, you're covered from the rain. So this is what he's talking about. So these cliff bluffs, he's talking about analytically.
That's supposed to be what's leaving these dark indentions and stuff like this. But, you know, whether imagination or not, my girl points out that, like, some of them look like pictures, you know what I'm saying? Like,
okay, so that's what we want to hear. All right, so let's go back a little bit. Got a nice spot right back here. We had it on screen.
these dark.
Now, this is the area I want you to focus on right here. This area right here. Now, if you look at this area, you will see something that's kind of unique. Now, you already said these look like pictures, like they look like little comics and shit, right? So right here in this area that I'm highlighting with the mouse, all right, you'll see an eye, a little nape for a nose, and a mouth, okay? Now, when you see that, it should resemble to you something like this. No bullshit. Hey, we're going to just see what we see, right? Now, I'm going to show you something. Does anybody look at this and see right here in this area, right here? You see this? Now, I'm going to ask you if you see this. Now, all you have to do is pause it when I had that, when it looked best on your screen, but still it looks better in the rock. Now, let's hear what he, no, let's just show it. Now, right here, you have a face, okay? Now, real quick, see this little piece that comes out? It's part of a headband. Above the headband is an afro. You might think it's a turban, but it's an afro. Here's the headband. Now, here's the ear. Right here, I'm outlining the ear. If you're looking at my mouse and it looks like a circle around my mouse, then the ear is in the center of the circle. This is the ear canal right here. Here's the high cheekbone. You see the eye of one side. You see the tuft of the nose. You see the lips right there. You see the top, the upper chops, and the rest of the beard comes down to here. Now, if you see that, you see what I'm saying. And next to it, here's a mouth. Here's another man's head. Here's the mouth. Here's the nose. Here's the flat bridge of the nose. Here's the eye and the cheekbone right there. There's the top of the ear. Here's the turban of the next man. See the turban going around? You see this one? I didn't see this before. Here's the nose of the next guy. Here's the eyes of the nose. Oh my God, he's not wearing it, he's bald, right? That's what we're looking at right here in this one. A bald guy, a guy with a turban, a guy with a headband with an afro, and I can't tell what this one is, and this one, of course, I showed you. You can see this one looks like a Lego head. Now, I encourage you to watch this video. In a minute, he's going to start walking, and as he starts walking, he comes upon a point where they find rat droppings, and they go into an area. Excuse me. There we go. That is it. Now, when he comes in this area, I want you to see this.
With their feces and dung, and apparently like to call haaretz, that firmament. Oh, you found a little moss nest or whatever they call them things. So, you know, rats out here in the desert, they make these little nests with their feces and dung, and apparently my old lady done found one. So we're gonna check this out.
Okay, right before that, I forgot. I see we have the Decalogue stone up here. Now I want to show you something about the Decalogue stone. You see this stone right here? Now, do you see the man on the back of the Decalogue stone? You see the afro on the man's head? Do you see the puffy beard right there? All right, we need to go back to this picture that he had. Well, you saw the picture. And we're going to go further with this. Now, you see there's something, it looks like it's drawn on there, right? Up there, and you see right there. We'll blow it up. You see it looks like there's some drawing in there.
I ain't going in there.
Yeah, we are not going in there.
Now, I can't see what he sees, but he states we're not going in there. Now, remember, they call men rats too, right?
Okay, y'all. Let me see if I can see what y'all can see.
Now, whether that ends right there, or whether it goes further and deeper, whether you've got to crawl on your belly like a snake to get into there, so be it. I think it's interesting that he goes to a section that looks like a bunch of heads.
Let me get this angle right.
Now, they walk up this mountain, or this path that's starting to go up a hill, and they're up against this cliff, bluff, or mountain. Now, he's going to state some things that are interesting, and we're going to highlight some things and call it quits.
There's spiders in there, too.
If you see the little nugget in between the big ceiling and the crack, that contains all kind of historical DNA. You know, seeds and whatever was growing around here, information as far as wildlife. Y'all watch Discovery Channel for the rest of that. And I swear this looks...
Now, here, let's hear them say this real quick.
Wildlife. Y'all watch Discovery Channel for the rest of that. And I swear this looks like a stairwell to go up.
Now, do you see that he's inside of what looks like an arch or a doorway? And as he states, it looks like stairs to go up, like somebody dwelled there. Again, it's interesting if you can go further into there, and the curiosity of how close this area is to the section that has the bluffs that look like heads.
It is.
Like you just supposed to.
This way. And there's another one too.
Well, we kind of left it.
See how the tree, if the tree had leaves, it would kind of block the entrance from people that were far or further away and just were looking around. You'd almost have to know that behind that tree is a dwelling space. You know, it's almost perfect.
Left the trail that I told me and Adrian was going on. We found my brother right quick. As we... These are those weird ass layers, man.
Shale.
You know, look at that. That looks like tree bark. You know. Well,
Did you hear what he just said?
you know. Well, man.
Look, literally.
You know. Look at that. That looks like tree bark.
Can't get a good shot of that.
These are those weird ass layers, man.
Look, literally.
You know. Look at that. that looks like.
See, you get a better shot of it when it's in motion. Yeah, it's all blurred up even as a still picture. So he states it looks like tree bark. Now listen.
Look at that. That looks like tree bark. You know, what the hell?
And it cracks so easy. But it's all hollow.
See, it's all hollow. Now, I don't want to get in any conclusions because I'm sitting here and he's was or is there. All right. So as you can see, a lot of these places are hollowed out, and somehow things that are trees seem to be blocking the path and into some of these things, or you can make what you will of what you can see from sitting at home. Again, watch his video and you'll see some interesting things. You'll just be surprised. So kudos to Arthur for going back to where it starts for us. There's something interesting that Arthur brought up in another video, and it leads us to Gregory Walker, Black People in Ancient Egypt. And so he has been on a roll. So a big shout out to Arthur for his work. All right, so yesterday in the other video, part one, I showed you royal crest with black faces, and when I tried to, nothing came up, right? But you see this is Moorish Hawaiian coat of arms. All right, so that's kind of weird. But as we go through, something popped up, and it was that, duh. So the name said it all, Moorish Hawaiian coat of arms. So then I got the idea of typing in, here, I'll go back one. Oh, somehow I got the idea of doing Moor's head, and then that's when it all broke free. So now you have all these Lucendium 1550 Moor's heads, okay, and I can't tell you where these from, but now when you type in, it's just like if you type in, this is the code breaker. Just like, I mean, a lot of people already know where to find Moor's heads and images of Moor's heads on buildings, on coat of arms. But now we have the title of it. Having the title of it gets you the image. Now that you have the image, now it's about expounding it. Now, when we want to see where our people are in other nations, you just type in Afro and that nation. That's a code. And you can see all the Israelites spread to the four corners of the earth. You can see all the Afro people spread to the four corners of the earth. And on your own, you can decide if they're your brothers or cousins or whatever. But the same thing that happens to you happens to them. Now, this is the new code or the new pattern or the new stencil. Now, every time I have that, there we go. This is a stencil, okay? This is how you draw a perfect circle at different sizes, different measurements. It's called a stencil. And you just stick your pencil right in there, and then you draw a perfect circle. Now, this is the new stencil, Moor's heads. So you type in the country of royalty that you want. Of course, these 10 kings. And what happens? You see their coat of arms with Moor's heads. So have fun with that, Let's get to Gregory Walker. It's giving me a hard time. Yay. I wanted to watch something and you gave me a...
Most people know about the Odyssey.
Here, let's
Most
go.
people know.
Turn that down just a bit.
I wrote a book called Shades of Memnon. This is book 1. This is book 1 of a 7-book series. Action, martial arts, spiritual adventure. Big epic story, bigger than Lord of the Rings, based on our history and based on our culture. When I was little, like a lot of these little guys here and girls, I was down with all the little comic book characters and the Conan and the sci-fi and all that kind of stuff like that. But being the type of little militant that I was always mad because I would never see any African people.
Oh, so this is great. I completely forgot to show you the second discovery here. The second discovery on this had to do with woolly mammoth bones, right? Now, Alexander the Greek, right? Versus what? The people of India or the nation of India? India is using what? Elephants. Bah. Woolly mammoths are elephants. They're just gigantuous elephants. Right? It says the Nephilim came down and slept with things. Yes, it states the daughter of men, but it says they were giants. Don't we have gigantic trees? Don't we have gigantic animals? Don't we have gigantic lizards? Think about it. I'm not saying that the Nephilim created dinosaurs. I'm just saying, they slept with things. Now, if the woolly mammoth is called a dinosaur, why do the elephants look just like the woolly mammoth but without hair?
But now there is more evidence that supports the pre-Clovis theory because
No.
Involved in any of this. It was like we didn't have anything to contribute. But when I looked around the world, I would walk down the street and see super basketball players. And I knew that if they were sword fighters, they would be top sword fighters or something. If they were martial artists, they would be top martial artists. I knew this. Even when I was little, I always had faith in my people and I always wanted to know more about where we came from, what we did. And as I started growing up, I started to take a look and see little glimmers and little hints about the greatness of black people in the ancient world. And so what I did was I went to school with the purpose of preparing myself to do what I'm doing now. Because when I was in seventh grade, that's when I first decided that I was going to do this. I said, when I grow up, I'm going to come out with a series of books, not just a series of books, but a whole genre of entertainment that's based on our history and our culture, because I know it's there. I didn't know the particulars of it at the time, but I knew it was there. This book is based on the book that the character from the 3rd book of the Trojan War. Most people know about the Odyssey. Most people know about the Iliad. There's a lot of teachers here that probably have to teach those texts. And you're always wondering if there's something else with black people in it. But guess what there is? The 3rd book of the Trojan War is called the Ethiopus. The Ethiopus, which literally means the black people. Now let me put this in perspective for you all. The Ethiopus is the middle book between the Iliad and the Odyssey. This is the book where the character Achilles gets shot in the heel and dies. You never heard that, right? Everybody knows about the Achilles heel. You don't know about that happened, it took place in a book that was about black people coming to fight at Troy. When you saw that movie Troy last year, the great and glorious Achilles, well, if that movie was going to portray that battle the way that it was actually portrayed in the ancient times, the Brad Pitt character would have been beat up for about 15 minutes by Denzel Washington, looking like this. All right? But they didn't want to show that, of course. We all know why. Brad Pitt was the glorious hero of that story. But I'm here to reveal our story, which unlocks, it is the key. The stories about Memnon, the tradition about this character, is the key that unlocks what Afrocentric people and fair-minded people have been looking for for a very long time. In the 90s, there was all kinds of books and debates going on about whether black people had anything to do with the foundation of the world, and particularly Western civilization. Out of Africa, not out of Africa. Out of Greece, not out of Greece. There's a lot of people here who know about those books and read those books back and forth. Well, they didn't mention Memnon because Memnon squashes all of that. That's the reason why they didn't mention it. The traditions about Memnon really clarifies the fact that black people had to do with the foundation of white Western literature. And all you kids, I want you to clearly understand, they have not been teaching you this, because when this came out, this was back in the time when there was no slavery as we know it. People enslaved people, but they didn't turn them into chattel. They did not dehumanize people to try to justify what they were doing, because everybody was enslaving people, so they didn't care. But they knew something way back in the day about black people, and this is what they knew. Because the ancient Greeks, the Romans, and other people called black people blameless Ethiopians. They called them blameless Ethiopians. This is all throughout the ancient Greek text. They keep on mentioning blameless Ethiopians. Blameless Ethiopians. They knew. Because the ancient Greeks, the Romans, and other people called black people blameless Ethiopians. Blameless Ethiopians. Blameless Ethiopians. Blameless Ethiopians. Blameless Ethiopians. They call them blameless Ethiopians. This is all throughout the ancient Greek text. They keep on mentioning blameless Ethiopians, the most favored of the gods. In the Odyssey, they talk about how the gods would leave off Mount Olympus, leave off their own home, go across the Atlantic Ocean. I'll get into this in a minute. Go across the Atlantic Ocean to sit and dine and have supper and dinner with the blameless Ethiopians. Everybody else in the world, including the Greeks themselves, had to do what you call rituals and sacrifices at the temple to the gods. But according to the ancient traditions, only the blameless Ethiopians were high enough morally and spiritually for the gods to come down and have dinner with them above everybody else. And back in the day, the ancient Greeks used to call people blameless. That would be the highest of the high that you could call somebody, because their whole civilization was based on praise and blame. This blew me away when I was doing my research into why it is that the ancient Greeks would call black people blameless. See, in the ancient Greek days, if you go to court, your lawyer would be somebody who would go find people to praise you. He didn't do it. I know he didn't do it. He's a good guy. Everybody loves him around the neighborhood, all right? That's what your lawyer would go to try to find. Now, your opponent's lawyer would go try to find somebody to blame you. Yeah, he did. He stole a horse. He stole mine. I know he probably did this. So it's based on, the whole civilization was based on praise and blame. The highest compliment that the ancient Greeks could say about anybody was to call them a blameless people. A blameless people. This is what happened in the Ethiopians. It's a very, very, very deep story that has what you would call allegorical connections to what was actually going on in the real world. Back in the old days, mythology used to tell you pieces of history. It would tell you actually what happened, but in a story form. In the Ethiopians, when the Greeks were overrunning the Trojans, they called Priam. You remember the big bushy-haired guy that was in the movie Troy that came out to get his son Hector, who had been killed by Achilles? Well, that character should have been played by somebody like John Amos from Good Times. All right? That Priam is Memnon's uncle. All right? This black character that I'm showing you right here. So that means that Hector and a lot of those characters that they showed on the movie Troy should have been black. Now, I'm not saying that they were all black. Back in the time that I'm talking about, it was great intermarriage across racial lines and cultural lines. It was not a big thing about race like it is now today, you know. But what I'm saying is that should have been a black man. And that movie should have had a lot of black people in it.
So you're saying at the time of this, there is not a caste system based on race.
Which they did not show. So Priam called the greatest hero at that time, who was already a world-renowned martial artist, a world-renowned hero, a world-renowned swordsman, a person that was world-renowned for defeating evil and saving people. This was Memnon, whose name means immortal. In 3 different ancient languages, Memnon's means immortal. In ancient Greek, his name means forever being forever there, resolute, always there like a big rock or boulder. It's always there. That's what his name means in Greek. In the Black Asian language, the Muslim people are always talking about Asiatic black people. Who are the Asiatic black people?
We are the Asiatic black people.
What does that mean? Well, I found out what that means. In Iran, in Iraq right now, there's black people that still live there that you don't see on the news.
Afro-Iraq, Afro-Iran.
Long time ago, these black people used to run Iran and Iraq, right? And many other places over in the Far East and in Asia and all that, all the way over to China. I'll be getting into that. And Israel too, and especially Israel. All these places were places where the Asiatic black man and woman.
Blameless Ethiopians. Now, we already saw the information that the Ethiopians come from Asia. People, we got a complete circle here. Whether you want to denounce it like you usually do, like I give a shit. I did my job. I showed you. Now you've been shown. Hunter-gatherers with nothing to hunt, nothing to gather. You're city dwellers now, and encoded in your DNA is to hunt and to gather. But there's nothing to hunt. So you change the hunt to what? Pussy. There's nothing to gather. So you change the gathering to liquors and beers and chips and leisure shit. Because you sit around in leisure jumpsuits like there's a big game hunt. But there's not. You're just waiting for what? The next hunt. You ain't hunted for generations. But you still don't. What's wrong with the black man? Well, he's encoded to hunt and gather, and he dwells in the city where there's nothing to hunt, nothing to gather. You go to the suburbs, the deer are overflowing in the suburbs. I was in a city called Parma. That wasn't the city I was in, but it was up in Cleveland. Can't remember the name of the city right now. Maybe it was, North Royalton. North Royalton, right? They got a lot of park areas there. Overflowing with deer. They got deer running on their lawn, eating the flowers, eating anything in the bushes. Because they're out of food, because they're overflowed. You're not in balance with the earth, so they're not in balance with the earth. That's what these mass kill-offs be. Hey, we got to build up a deer, so we're going to invite a bunch of hunters to come out, shoot the deer, because the deer are tearing up everything that the colonists have built on their property. The first set of deer I saw was 3 deer on one man's lawn. I'm sitting there taking pictures of this shit because it's tripping me out. Let me see. Let me prove to you I'm telling you the truth. I'm sitting there taking pictures of this shit because it's tripping me out. Okay? See the deer right there? Here, let me try that. Right next to the glowing part. Right there. Right? There's another one right there. Alright? Right there in his property, just eating a bunch of shit. Right? He comes out and he starts chasing him. Now the 2 go to one side. See him just chilling on the dude's property. You see the house in the background. You see the siding. Right? Eating all of his shrubs and shit. Right? Guy comes out, starts chasing him. They scatter, come right back. You can see it right there, up there. You can see them there. They scatter, they come right back. Right? This motherfucker's out there. He grabs something and he's trying to communicate with the deer. He's trying to tell the deer if they come back, he's gonna fuck them up. Those deer sat there right on his property. He went in the house, they came back, started eating on his shit again. He just said, fuck it, he ain't come back out again. I was shocked. I turned his corner. He was right there on the corner. I went up a block. Dogs start barking. Woman's got 2 dogs on a leash. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to go down there. And they got dogs and shit. Right? I look across the street where they're at, further into 6 does running. They got giant yards out there, running around in the yard, just frolicking. 6 does just running around, trampling everything they got. Oh, it's great. It's great to watch. I'm walking home. I'm sorry, I'm not walking home. I'm walking to what we had as a pickup point. This dude sitting across from me, you can't see that great, but he's in there in this picture. You see it better like that. And there he is. Close up of him. Eyes glowing and everything. No, that was the bucks. They had the horns and shit. It was a trip, man. So it reminds me of Edris. The last days, creatures will come out of their haunts. Now, those things eat in a specific place. All right. Now look, this is the Strong's Concordance. I told you I'm gonna show you am, and then I just took the shit out, page marker. Now listen, the Strong's Concordance is unique because it translates a word and what the word means in different scriptures. Okay. Now, if you're in Genesis 1 and there's a word and same words in Genesis 2, you look up the definition. You look up that word that's in both. If they mean something different in each scripture, it will tell you that. So when you look up am, A-M, I gotta hold a book to the screen. All right, yeah, if you look up here, I don't know if you can see that. I'm at the well, maybe it was better. You see right here. I'm at A-M. I can't get that in good. There. Am. Now highlighted down here. Exodus. Let's see where I see the highlighter in the center. Exodus 3 and 16. 14. Yeah. Now it tells you. Hopefully you saw it on screen. It's 1961. And you look up 1961. And it gives you Haya. H-A-Y-A. Let's see if I can find it. I know I've taken a picture of this before, but nope. Well, you're gonna have to just bear with me. Oh yeah, let's do sideways. Here we go. We have a picture. Now, when you see it clearly, you stop the video and you read. I want you to pay attention to the symbols, the Hebrew letters next to the name. Okay? Now, there's three symbols right there. You saw in yesterday's video, this is where his name derives from. there's 3 letters, and underneath, there's 2 scores between those 2. Now, I'm not going to argue with you. You see it for yourself. I've used, listen very carefully, I've used your enemy who enslaved you. I've used their encyclopedia. Your enemy who pretends to be you. I used their encyclopedia. I used songs of the people who pretend to be you, right? I used, what else did I use? The Strong's Concordance, right? That's 4 different witnesses. And I don't care about the fucking hand signs you think I'm doing or anything like that. That's how you count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different witnesses, 4 different testimonies to show you. Now, one's biblical, one's the enemy of the biblical people. One's the people that pretend. 4 different witnesses. As of today, you know the name of God. Any of this Ehaya or any other anything else that you do, it's just your fucked up encoding. I have no control over that because when I type in, I'm pretty sure it's Ezekiel 36. Ezekiel 36. I just want the whole chapter. It's fine. Here we go, 36 and 20. And everywhere you went among the nations, you profaned my holy name, for it was said to them, these are the Lord's people. And yet they had to leave this land. Isn't that what we talked about today? How you spread agriculture everywhere? And why were you defeated? If our sovereign Lord is your shield, why did you get defeated by these people? Because you started worshiping other gods and profaning his name. Right here. And I had concern for my name. He didn't care about us. His name. We're supposed to care about him. Then he shows us the love, which the people of Israel profaned among the nations where they had gone. You started those nations. Therefore say the Israelites, this is what the sovereign Lord say. It is not for your sake, people of Israel, that I am doing these things to you, that I'm going to do these things, but for the sake of my holy name. Blame whoever you want. Pull your own ass up and use the squishy little thing that's inside that hard shell.